Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for EA's press conference, E3 2015. As always, I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined here by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty, and
the coolest dude. The coolest
in video games.
Greg Miller. Alfredo Diaz is not with us right now.
He has run away. He is
so his
gone.
name is there. Just pretend that he's there in spirit.
It's because Kevin left this stupid thing up there and then left us alone to die out here.
He did. A lot of things.
I'll go turn that off.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. So right now we are live on YouTube because Twitch went down.
Yep.
And
very
it was a surprise.
very reliable.
None of us expected that.
I mean, like the entire site is
Yeah, Twitch is down. It's not our fault. It's not Kevin's fault.
No, it's not our
Which
fault
is surprising.
or Kevin's fault, but yeah, no surprise that Twitch goes down exactly when you need it.
Right during the Star Wars presentation.
Yeah, but it'll be back up hopefully after the Ubisoft conference, so we can do the post Ubisoft and then pre Sony, which is the one we've really been waiting for.
Yeah.
We only care about the Sony.
I know.
So, yeah.
Let's be honest.
That's
We're
gonna
Sony
be
fanboys.
That's gonna
That's
be
all
real,
we care about.
real good. But right now, guys, we're talking about EA. They just had their thing. It was a thing.
It was a thing.
And man, I don't know. I've been talking a lot about these press conferences today. I'm like, wow, people have really learned on how to make a press conference. Like, we're getting these excellent press conferences, and then this happens. I'm like, maybe
you got ahead
I'm
of
wrong.
yourself and
Yeah.
know the world doesn't know how to do a perfect one.
My
yet.
God. Now, before we get into everything, I want to run through all the things that were shown. We got Mass Effect,
Wake me up when it's over.
Andromeda. All right?
Yep.
Holiday 2016.
Exciting.
Starting off strong, starting
Exciting.
off good. Need for Speed, which was very Fast and Furious inspired.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, the OST was legit. The soundtrack sounded awesome. I'm totally in this, except it's not Fast and Furious the game, and it should be. Then, Star Wars The Old Republic gets Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion for free, coming soon. People are excited, I guess. Unravel, it's a new IP. It's a puzzle platformer. It's kind of like Yoshi's Woolly World, but only the main character,
it's got
Yarny.
yarn in it. Yeah.
is-
Yarny?
His name's Yarny. Yeah, he has the yarn. Otherwise, it's like the rest of it's just like a normal world, and it looks kind of dope. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 got a very extended demo that it didn't need. Single player will be in for the first time. Spring 2016. Then we get to the sports. We got NHL 16, PGA Tour, NBA Live. People were excited, I guess. And then
People were excited,
got-
I guess. Were people excited?
Then someone came out and said, "Let's talk about mobile." And then they talked about some
internet
Star Wars card game,
died.
and then Minions Paradise.
That's when I took my bathroom break. When first of all, who drew straws at EA? It was like someone has to go on stage and say, "Let's talk about mobile."
Let's
Yeah.
talk about
and that
mobile.
poor woman was like, "Oh shit."
I'm sorry.
Damn it! Now I gotta go out and talk about this.
She was
mobile.
enthusiastic about it though.
And then you think it's over, and they're like, "No, we're going back to sports." So then they talked about FIFA, and then my boy Pele came out.
Yep.
Your
And I
boy,
was
your
like,
boy,
he's
your boy is
definitely
Pele.
my boy.
Okay, I didn't know that about
he
you.
came out. I liked him when they asked a question. He just goes, "Ha
No.
I liked that. That was
Pele
that was
doesn't give
good.
a fuck. He got his
Totally
$1
good.
million payday to go there and do this.
But then they brought it back and gave us a little bit of that Mirror's Edge catalyst. February 23rd, 2016. I like that. I like that we're getting a date that's not just next year. That's not just spring 2016.
Right.
So that's good. I liked it. It maintained the look. It maintained a lot of the feel, but also looked a little more realistic.
Sure.
So that was good. Then they went back to sports. Madden, and mobile. Madden 16, the app experience. They talked about drafting and all this shit for a while. I'm like, well, great. Great. Then a Madden 16 trailer. It's like, okay, we get it, guys. It's coming.
We get it. You like Madden a
yeah.
lot. Just stop.
Now, the most important thing, though, is the entire conference, they kept teasing, Star Wars is coming. It'll be at the end. Don't worry, it's coming. And
Yeah, they had to because
they had
it's
to
so
keep
really
telling
here.
us.
They had
and
a
it was just
countdown.
like,
They said 15 minutes at one point.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, hey, you get the Star Wars, but you need to go through the obstacle course first. Like, can
we
you
know
get
what
to
you
the
want.
end?
You can get it eventually.
And then they did show the first ever gameplay of Star Wars Battlefronts. So
which leaked on YouTube before then. Not
Yeah.
leaked, I guess, as much as I think the embargo
Just
went
came
up.
up,
Probably.
yeah.
And they were like, well, fuck it. Now we'll do this.
So what do you guys think?
I thought it was a pretty poor conference,
Rough.
and it was super uneven, which I thought would which. I feel like EA is always just kind of doing their thing, but they're never exemplary. But they're never. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now there were great games. I mean, opening up with Mass Effect Andromeda was very cool. Very excited about that game. I mean, I'm looking at my notes here. I literally wrote a bunch of Z's next to Need for Speed. Need for Speed Z's.
Yeah.
These?
Because it was like
Need for Speeds.
They're like, hey, we have this new thing, and then they just did slides for the longest time before they jumped into this weird live action thing. Before they
Yeah.
then jumped into sliders and stuff. It was a conference I was over there talking to Tyson Root, from Super Knockin' Boots, and he's like, I'm bored. We're bored. And I was like, well, this just isn't a conference aimed at us. And he said, who's it aimed at?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
who is this aimed at? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. You're great. The Garden Warfare stuff too.
Yeah, man, it's so weird. Like earlier, we were joking about a guy coming out in a Crash Bandicoot mascot outfit, and that was a fucking joke, But that would be at least funny. But so people that get it. This guy, we have a freaking zombie come out, and it's just like awkward as hell. Then he gets ushered off the stage, and it was just like
it was pretty poor. I mean, so they had a good beginning, something solid towards the end in Mirror's Edge, which looks cool, and then Star Wars Battlefront, which Battlefront looks fucking bonkers good. I'm really, really shocked about how good that game looks.
The presentation of it felt so Star Wars, and I think that's the most important thing.
The destroyers, like you can see the Star Destroyers like in orbit. Yeah. And like the
TIE fighters just flying by, and then just the camera angles and stuff. It seems a little extreme.
Yeah, it's very busy. It's very busy.
But it's cool.
It is cool. It looks fun.
That's what it would be like to be actually in one of those battles. And I loved that the music was just constantly playing and constantly changing depending on what you were doing. And it's just like, wow, it feels like Star Wars. Like, this feels like the universe that I want to be in. This is not no spin-off stuff. So Colin was wrong. There was no Episode 7 game, which makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean,
there
still might be. I mean, we should go into that while we remember it, Tim, that we each had an EA prediction. Greg said EA would announce Mass Effect 4 is coming in 2016. It's not called Mass Effect 4, but it is Mass Effect 4, so we'll allow it. So that's half a point. And then Mass Effect Trilogy, which I was shocked. I thought you nailed that one.
Yeah, me too.
So they didn't say anything about Mass Effect Trilogy. Maybe they'll do, if it's coming out fall 2016, that means that's an E3 2016 game.
Right.
The trilogy. Yeah. And then for me, I said, second Star Wars game tied into the movie and releases this fall, but that didn't happen. But when I looked at Battlefront, even though I was astounded by it, and I was so pleased to see it for the first time, one of the things that stood out to me was I was like, yes, this is definitely not a game for kids. What are they going to play? It just reaffirmed like, what the hell? This can't be it.
I mean, I think that Disney Infinity and Lego Star Wars would be the answers. Like, that is the surefire kid thing. Those are going to be good games too. Like, that's the difference. Like, specifically Lego Star Wars. The quality is going to be there.
But did they announce Lego Star Wars for 7?
No, they haven't yet. But
maybe they will at Gamescom. That is a British studio, so they maybe would have announced there. I don't know.
But yeah, man, Star Wars, I was sold before I even saw it, but now that I saw it, I was just like, this looks
But are you really going to play it?
That's the thing.
You're sold on the idea?
I'm definitely sold on the idea. I will try it out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'm going to invest that much time into it, but for me, it is going to be a significant amount of time comparatively to what I would put into other games.
Sure.
Specifically other shooters. I look at this and I was just like, I need to play this.
Right.
Because it looks like something that you need to experience.
Right, yeah. I'm definitely going to fool around with it, right? It looks like a lot of fun. It's beautiful. It's cool Star Wars stuff, but how long I'll hang out in there, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to talk a little bit. Let's talk about some of these games that we at least liked, right? Or that looked interesting.
Yeah.
Mass Effect Andromeda, I think, we don't know anything about it. No details other than holiday 2016. I like that Andromeda is the big key, right? Andromeda is the closest galaxy to the Milky Way. Clearly, what I don't want to spoil, but what went down in Mass Effect 3 renders some things that might not be possible in the future of the series, which why everyone was so interested in how they would continue it.
Yeah.
Andromeda being another galaxy entirely is a pretty clever yet obvious solution to continue Mass Effect. So, and I assume that's what the Andromeda call-out is, isn't it? So I thought that was exciting, at least. I thought it was weird the way they opened with it and kind of just shot it out and then never say anything about it again. That was kind of bizarre. That game Unravel.
I'm into it.
Yeah, it looked cute. I liked the guy that was on stage. I felt bad for him in the sense that he was just so clearly very nervous, and I'd be fucking nervous
But he was nervous, but he was excited. And I think that's something that's very important to point out. Like, he wasn't just like an awkward, nerdy, nervous dude. He was an awkward, nerdy, nervous dude that was showing something that he poured his heart into and was really excited to show. Like, there was a genuine excitement that you saw from him. And as weird and awkward as that was, it's like, it's kind of endearing where you're just like,
oh, no, I agree.
And then you see the gameplay and it's like, oh, this isn't just something weird. This is actually something that looks fun and nice and different. Because when I first saw it, you're like, oh, great. Wow, you're really copying the yarn thing. But then you see it and you're like, they're not at all. Like, just one art style for the character, but the gameplay looked different.
Yeah,
and the way that they use it, like, it looked good. One worry I have about it is
it going to be too fucking sad? Because it looks super sad.
Well, it does look sad, but it's not so much that as much as it looks like it might have too many gameplay mechanics. Like, there's something when it comes to those like artsy games where there's too many things you need to learn, and the yarn can do too many contextual things in different ways.
Yeah.
That. Just in that the trailer they showed, like, there was a ton of different things you could do with the yarn, and that worries me in the sense of the game might be a little bit uneven in terms of what's fun and what's not fun.
Sure,
but I'm intrigued in it by it.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like that was maybe the prettiest game that they showed, like, pound for pound. when you really looked at the gameplay and the backgrounds and stuff like that, I was like, wow, this is a stunning looking game.
Well, don't forget though that PGA, whatever the hell it's called, is using Frostbite or so that's really a pretty game itself right there.
Frostbite's it's a real engine, but it's such a buzzword too. I will say, for Tim's point, they spent way too much time on Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2.
Yep.
Now the game looks cool, and I'm super happy to hear that they're going to do
a
single player campaign, because I played the original and I liked it, but I don't want to play it like that. I'd rather play it by myself.
You hate people.
And they listened. I was surprised too that they said 6 million people played it. Now they gave it away for free and did a bunch of things, but it sold at least a few million copies.
Yeah.
So definitely, I'm disappointed that PopCap's doing these kinds of games, but it looks cool, and the single player campaign was intriguing to me about that particular game. But they spent an extraordinary amount of time on that game. I have no idea what they were thinking. I had no idea what they were thinking with a lot of things. The entire middle, basically, between Unraveled and Mirror's Edge was just fucking nonsense.
It's like they kept sandwiching everything. It's like if they just got the stuff that people don't care about out of the way, or just put it in the middle, that would have been fine. But they didn't. It was like every other thing they would go back to it. It almost became a joke. Where it's just like, really, guys? Like, we're going to talk about an app again, or we're going to talk about sports or whatever? And it's like, there's nothing against sports, but it's just, I don't understand the need to have these press conferences where they talk about the really random upgrades to these sports games that only hardcore sports games fans care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, like, who they're talking to and what they're trying to figure out, but you kind of beg the question with your own comment, which was like, they're talking about things no one cares about, which means that it doesn't belong in the show at all. And I'm not saying we speak for everyone. Obviously, there are people that care. I care about NHL deeply. I tweeted out about NHL and how they should have gone on stage and apologized for the sorry state that NHL 15 was in. I thought that would have been a really endearing thing and an honest thing to do. They gave gamers a very stripped down bullshit version of the game last year. It played fine and it was fun to play, but there was no meat on the bone at all. After just having the meatiest of all bones with like NHL 12, NHL 13, and all
it was
those.
Mechanics, but not feature complete.
Exactly. So I would have liked that, but I mean, they could have cut a half an hour off that conference,
Easily.
Yeah, but then I mean, we should focus on the positive too. Mirror's Edge Catalyst looks really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool. They gave it a full date, February 23rd.
Which I love that. I think there's a lot of good things about that. I think overall that might have been my favorite section of the conference because it felt complete. And you saw the game, you saw a lot of different things. It was interesting that it looked a little bit more like aggressive than the first game. Like it was less let's jump and like platformy type thing, and it was way more like we're fighting and we are kicking a lot of ass, which is cool. I liked that the look felt the same as the other game, but definitely more modern, more progressed. And the colors are what really stood out to me. Mirror's Edge was very, it had its whites, its bright blues, and its bright orange, and like that was kind of it. This has those elements, but there was also a lot of other colors, a lot of grays, and a lot of it didn't look as shiny as the other one, which I like. We're finally at a point with games and graphics where things don't need to be shiny to be pretty. They can just be pretty,
Yeah, I think the game. What I liked about it was that it looked very familiar. It still had that washed out look to it, that very sterile, very fascist, very Orwellian look to it, which I think is the hallmark of the original game, and I'm glad that they stuck with it. I like that they said that there are no levels, obviously, and no loading screens. So it's still a parkour heavy game, but it is a game of exploration, a sandbox, which the original wasn't.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that, and what I really like about this, and this is what we've been talking about, Greg, too, with developers. Everyone knew that they were working on Mirror's Edge for a long time, long before they ever announced it, which was just a few weeks ago, if that. And these publishers are starting to come to terms with the fact that there's no reason to announce these games so early, and I like that they came out with a date that's only 8 months away.
That's how it should be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need these long lead burn up times where you can get people psyched up and then the thing gets pushed and then everything goes to hell.
Yeah, and I think now where games are nowadays, where games are coming out all year round, I think it's important to lock down dates like February 23rd because that tells the other developers hey, we should probably stay away from these areas, or we should attack these areas, whatever it is. And it's interesting to see because I don't ever remember really getting spring dates this early at the previous E3.
No, they've identified their date. I guess they're confident they can go gold and maybe even before Christmas, if not in January, and get the game out. So I was impressed by that. It looks cool. It looks fun. The Gabriel Kruger character looks interesting. There seems to be a more... I don't remember Mirror's Edge very well, but there seems to be a tighter story. Something that emphasizes a little bit more of the world and the danger of the world and the fascism of the world and the lack of privacy. It was funny. I was making fun of a little bit of the presentation, though, because she, the woman that came out to talk about it, sounded just like Nate Fox when he introduced Infamous Second Son. It was like at the PS4 reveal, it was like the same speech. Like, what if you had no privacy and and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I feel like I've seen this already. But other than that, it looked pretty cool. And then of course Battlefront.
Yeah, my God, Battlefront.
Very impressive.
But Battlefront's still impressive, beautiful. As a critic, you're saying all these things. As you as a player, you're still not.
Oh no,
like,
I'm not interested in playing it. But it looks fun, and there is a single player component to it. So like I could play the missions or whatever, and maybe I'll fuck around with it. But it seems like a game I'd fuck around with for a weekend.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Is like I can't wait for that weekend. Those single player missions and stuff, and just being able to play with the bots. I am so into that. The multiplayer I could do without. But,
yeah, I mean it's.
But I understand that we are in the minority when it comes to that. Like the majority of people in this room even are just gonna be like, I want to fucking play the shit.
Oh no, and I understand and respect that. And there's a dynamic to it where I was watching it and I'm like, I was looking, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, maybe I could actually play this. But I was like, no, you know what? I'm not going to enjoy it probably. I just don't want to be in a lobby, and I don't want to be playing with other people and having to cooperate or compete in that sense. So it's just not for me. But there's no doubt that they did a beautiful job. What's funny is seeing a game like that, a Star Wars licensed, beautifully rendered game like that, with such obvious shooter heft and shooter feel to it, and shooter look. The bouncing rifle and all those kinds of things. Like,
that was the
so
one
weird.
thing, and I pointed this out to Greg, where the whole game looked great in the presentation. I fucking cannot stop talking about it because I think it's so wonderful. But the gun itself and like the hand specifically looked weird to me. Like it looked really just kind of like stiff.
Right.
But I mean, I guess that's also just like that's how the Battlefront games always kind of have been. So I don't know what else I'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so unfortunate that there's not much else to say. Like.
It was a disappointing conference.
It was a bad
It wasn't
conference.
aimed at us for sure.
Yeah.
But
But
who is the majority? I know. I'm saying the majority of games there weren't our kind of games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean,
like
even
the coolest
going-
moment, right, was in the end of Star Wars there, where they ran up and the guy gets picked up,
The Vader thing,
thrown,
yeah.
and
Oh
you turn
my
around, it's
God.
Vader, and then Luke and him go at it. It was
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah! Could we just had an entire conference of that?
It's
Like, it was
interesting.
weird to start with Mass Effect,
Yeah.
and then have just like what happened happen. Just go.
It's interesting to look back at our pre-show we did and like talk about all the things that they could have shown, or
Yeah.
that we were expecting, or that they need to do surprises and all this stuff. And then to get this, starting off with Mass Effect was like, oh, promising, and then it just dropped off, right?
Right.
And it's interesting, and I think the fact that they from the beginning they were like Star Wars is at the end. It was kind of clear that it was just like that is the big thing. We all knew that,
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that there wasn't any real surprise. I mean, I guess Unravel was a surprise, but
Yeah.
that's not the type of surprise I think people were looking for.
Sure.
No.
But,
Sure.
But it's good though. I think that that's a good thing. You shouldn't, if you can expect the surprise,
Then it's
that's
not
a different type of
it's not a
surprise.
surprise.
Than, yeah. So
And I want to say that EA, because we're beating up on EA a little bit, but I want to give them a lot of credit for identifying a game like Unravel. We often say that it's more of a big publisher like Ubisoft that takes risks on games like Valiant Hearts
Yeah.
or Child of Light. Well, Unravel seems like one of those games that's clearly not going to be a critical success or a commercial success.
Yeah.
It will be probably a critical success if it's as good as it looked. And it's smart for EA to kind of engender themselves to more of the art house games and the art house gamer
are now hidden, so
because
you
they
have
have
to
no
be very aware
credibility
and
really
look
there
out for
because
stuff
they,
as you're going
they
through.
like Activision have a lot of
And then the
annualization
secret
and
levels
doing a
there,
lot
you
of
see
things
that
like
you
that.
can power up to get
I do want to give them a lot
into
of
that
credit
door,
for
a little VLAN
finding a
door,
game
which
like
kind of
Unravel that they give it
start
up
like
next,
the Virtual
next to
Boy
their FIFAs, next to
style.
their Need for Speeds,
exactly,
and all
man.
these
And
kinds of things.
I'm totally with that because that looks like a Tim game. You know what I mean? That looks like one of those games that I want to love. And similar, Ori and the Blind Forest and stuff like that Ubisoft is doing, like those are intriguing to me. Those are intriguing to a whole group of people out there, like gamers that don't necessarily want these like big AAA shooters. You know,
Ori
But-
is a do you mean Child of Light or Valiant? Ori is a Microsoft game.
Fuck, you're right. Yeah.
I just want it because people are going
Yes.
to complain
yeah,
out there.
no,
so I'm just
you're
trying
right,
to-
you're right. Yeah. Holy
But I
shit.
understand what you're
I
saying.
would think that's Ubi though. Yeah, damn. I would put that in that same.
It
group
looks
because whatever. You get what I'm saying.
It looks
like
like
that
it looks
type
like
of
that
game.
Rayman engine
Yeah.
quite a bit. But yeah, it seems like everyone except for really Activision does these kinds of games now, and now EA is kind of on board as well. I think it grows credibility, and if you have an audience that likes their Need for Speeds and they like their Mass Effects and all that, I totally respect that. Those are great games. Then maybe they see this, or maybe there are EA fans out there, and maybe they'll see, oh, well, this is a game I should take a chance on that I otherwise wouldn't. The studio, obviously, or the company that's best at doing those kinds of games is obviously Sony, but everyone's learning from. Well, they did Journey and Flower and Unfinished Swan and all these games that no one would probably ever touch, and they all ended up doing great. So you can also make a buck if you really wanted to on these games as well. But it seems like this studio that made Unravel is only like 15 people, so it's not like it's going to cost them an arm and a leg to make the game. It's going to cost them a few $1 million, but we'll see what happens. What's going on? Are we live on Twitch now as well?
No, Twitch is finally back. Like, and because when I'm saying Twitch is down, I mean the entirety of the site of Twitch was down. Like no one was broadcasting. So now, see, there are 2 things on the front page right now, and twitch.tv/Twitch, which is where we were streaming the conference from, and the co-streaming thing was completely dead. So that is back now. We're hosting that on our Twitch channel, so if people over there still watching. But if you notice, I have twitch.tv. You just pulled it up. There's 2 things live, which means everything's fucked. And then you can see this other one over here that is not live either. So it's up to us how we want to handle our situation.
Well, we're gonna figure it. I mean, we have to sit through the Ubisoft conference, so this might just fix itself. You know.
Sure.
In 10
No.
minutes,
Yeah,
10
we
minutes.
can just not do the. We're just clearly not going to do the UB pre-show or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess what UB's coming up. This is still the post show on EA, which was disappointing and everybody's heartbroken.
I know.
No, it was disappointing in a lot of ways, but it also was awesome in a couple.
EA can never show their face at an E3 again.
But no, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we got a couple good things out of this. We did
Sure,
get
it wasn't
the new
bad. It
Mass
wasn't
Effect,
bad
we
news.
got
It was video games.
Unravel, we got Battlefront, and Mirror's Edge. Like that alone, I'm like, cool, great. 4 great games in an hour and a half. That's good. It's easy to focus on all the bullshit that we don't care about. And even Need for Speed, like you were saying, it looks boring. I'm intrigued by it. Like it looks like it's taken a lot of the best pieces from the Need for Speeds, and they were saying that, and it's like you could see it in it. But yeah, it is just
To me, it's just like I haven't played a Need for Speed game. I played all the ones on PS1, and then I went off to Hot Pursuit 2, and then I kind of stopped. So that was 13 years ago. I don't think it looks boring. I think that I thought it was a little disingenuous, and I don't know the Need for Speed franchise well enough to know like what they were picking and choosing. He was calling out Carbon and Underground and all these things, and I respect that. There's certainly things from that game, but I'm like, dude, just say what it's inspired by and get it over with, because it's clearly and obviously inspired by Fast and Furious,
which is
and
funny.
like I don't understand like why you're just gonna beat around everything
They don't
about
have
it.
everything about that, like the way that the silhouettes of the faces and the font and the music and all that. But the thing is that's funny is like, I love Fast and Furious.
Do
but,
you?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, never heard
but
of that.
Underground originally inspired Fast and like it was like a total
Right.
hand in hand thing with that game. But
So it's this Tomb Raider Uncharted situation.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But overall, EA so far the worst conference, but still had some gems.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely stuff in the big, and
Started
it was front
strong.
loaded. We didn't even talk about Knights of the Fallen Empire really, which is going to be the add-on to the Old Republic, which is the MMO that came out, and then I didn't even know it still existed. That's dated for October 27th, and it's free.
Yeah.
Which is a clever way. EA's clever, right? That game still exists and has a group of people that play it, however big.
Yeah.
They spent an asinine amount of money on making that game, and they clearly probably haven't made it back. Now, Star Wars has always been part of the zeitgeist, but now this fall and this winter, Star Wars is really going to be part of the zeitgeist. So you get people in on this free DLC, and you hook maybe a few 100,000 people back into playing and paying for a subscription or whatever it is, or buying the game. I don't even know if it's a subscription-based game anymore. There's something clever about that, about going to your well and being like, well, this exists, and we still support it, and now it's relevant again. Maybe they should have, released a whole new MMO or prepared one, but I mean that's hard. That takes years
Exactly,
to do.
that's the
So
whole
you
thing.
go back and you figure those things out.
It was
So I thought that
interesting to see
clever.
them have come out and give them time, and then also to be like, hey, this is what you wanted probably the first time, right? This is BioWare storytelling, make choices, meet these characters, all these different things that, I mean, like, when they announced Old Republic, right? People were like, oh, cool, but I think the majority of people were like, why didn't you just make another KOTOR? You know what I mean? Like, just give us another BioWare Star Wars game. Give them the, ability to go do whatever they want to go do, and us as players to choose our destiny and stuff like that. And I know people liked KOTOR to an extent, but it's an MMO, and it didn't click the way it should have.
SWTOR.
Sorry, I do that every time.
I mean, again, the CG cutscenes look fucking awesome.
Yeah, of
and
course
they're
they do.
super cool.
Yeah.
I want that game. Give
Yeah,
me that game.
you won't
please.
get that game.
I'll never get that
Yeah.
game. But it'll one day maybe.
One day, maybe.
Things are looking a little bit better on Twitch.
Yeah, it looks like
Seeing a
it
couple
looks like it's
channels
coming back.
pop
I mean,
out.
I was just watching. Our friend Jules Wassam actually was on there.
He's on the official Twitch thing.
Yeah,
We're
he was
hosting
on.
over Kind of Funny
Our
Games.
friend from Renegade Kid that does Mutant Mud's Attack and Zeo
Yeah.
Drifter and all that. He was showing his games off. So it looks like everything's. And a viewer of Colin and Greg Live almost every day. I don't know if you knew that. And that's true.
I didn't know
That's
that.
100% true
What
story.
a nice guy.
Great developer, bringing the new Mutant Muds and Zeo Drifter to Vita, PS4,
Right.
I believe. So yeah, we have to decide now. We're going into Ubisoft. Obviously, we're not going to, because of the jacked up fucking nature of Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll go back there if
When it works, yeah.
Um,
The basic thing is that Ubisoft will go. Right now, Twitch, it looks like, if you look at my screen and how broken your screen is, it looks like Twitch is pouring in all their efforts to making sure twitch.tv/Twitch works. That's the one that will have the Ubisoft conference on it. We are hosting it on our site as far as twitch.tv/KindofFunnyGames. When that ends, or if we can come in beforehand, we'll break in and put ourselves back up with the conference still going. If not, then be in the chat like you are right now, and we'll show you the link to the next YouTube video. That's the post show.
I was wondering if it would be fantastic that Twitch support might just tweet something. I'm just
The fact that
I'm I'm throwing that out there.
Twitch
but-
and Twitch support aren't talking about their entire site being broken. Shows you how broken it is. That they're
Yeah.
just like, all hands on deck.
How can they not?
Someone
I don't-
figure this out. Let me
just
look
as
at
a-
Twitch on my screen.
Just as a brief aside, though, how can they not? Like, it's probably a server load issue, and it's gonna be the worst it's going to be during Sony. So,
Yeah.
like, how do you not prepare for that?
I don't know, man.
It's a little obnoxious. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
it's definitely
we're
something.
rolling on
rolling with the
YouTube. We
punches.
have 7,500 people here joining us
Yeah,
on YouTube. We do
thank you.
appreciate it. And remember, Tim will be cutting this out as a Gamescast, another
Yes.
irregular Gamescast episode.
We're gonna end.
Well, that's the whole thing.
The
He doesn't have to.
Gamescast is ending now.
This is as soon as we end this video, the Gamescast
So
is
this,
done. And
whatever
we're
the
gonna-
hell this happens, it'll just be the Gamescast. So
Yeah.
right now, this is still Gamescast.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
Oh, I mean, do you want to do?
We can talk. Let's talk about Ubisoft real quick because we're going into Ubi, right?
the pre.
Yeah. Well, just we can talk
Okay,
about at least
cool.
our
What do you want me-
guesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. That was the post show for EA. Now we're going in the pre show for Ubi.
And if you hadn't ever caught a pre-show for us because you were too busy and you're catching this YouTube archive, this is what the pre-shows look like.
So we made some guesses about Ubi, Greg. Both of us made one guess.
Okay.
I made a guess with 5 parts. You made a guess with 1 part, as is usually the case.
Yeah, I tried
Look
to be
how
a man
long
about
my columns are compared to
I
yours.
know.
all the time.
It's
Oh, and the score has been
disgusting.
updated. It's tightening. 3.92 to 2.5. I'm
See, I
winning
feel like you're
some.
pulling up away.
Well, you got a point with EA.
Yeah,
You
but
got
I'm doing like chip damage. You get bigger.
So your guess for Ubi was best trailer according to Greg is an UbiSoft game. Now that's a total bullshit prediction, but we're gonna hold him to the
Thank
to be
you.
honest
Thank
about
you.
it.
I'm going to be honest about it.
So that's his prediction, and that's a very subjective opinion. But and then my prediction for Ubisoft was that Watch Dogs 2 will be revealed. They'll obviously talk about it. They'll show a trailer, no release date, and it's next gen only. So 5 parts.
Greg also predicted that Rainbow Six gets delayed.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that already got confirmed.
Oh, okay.
It
Gotcha.
got it got a release date during a Microsoft thing, so
Yeah.
everybody's fine with it. We have over here on the standby screen Ubisoft 2015 conference getting ready to start shortly. We'll let you know. Of course, we'll stop this when it happens, so you'll be able to switch over. Like I said, still hosting with the only Twitch site that appears to be working, which is Twitch on twitch.tv.
Good. At least their stream's working.
But of
The
course,
official
you're on YouTube
streaming
already.
partner
Feel free to
of
click
E3.
up on that big old YouTube E3 thing. Go watch Jeff Keighley do his part of the show.
So yeah, I mean, otherwise, I think Ubi's going to be exciting in the sense that we were talking about with EA with Unravel.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very Ubisoft style game, I think.
Yeah.
In the sense that they don't only make those games; they make Tom Clancy games,
Mm-hmm.
and Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry, and all these games. But they do take risks on these smaller games. Lots of them. They do it pretty incessantly. They usually have 1 or 2 in development at any time. So I'm most excited and most interested to see if they are
Keep it
able
up.
to do that
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what Ubi's got up their sleeve. I'd like to see. I know they did a little bit with the Tom Clancy game that did not get delayed, ruining my predictions. But I'd like to see more Siege. I'd like to see more gameplay of that. Last year it had such a great demo, and they showed the airplane stuff today, which was cool, but it looked a little bit light. I'd like to see more of that. I want to see more of the Division, right? I imagine we see Watch Dogs 2. I wouldn't mind seeing a lot of that.
So we're waiting. He says Ubisoft. Yeah.
Still getting ready.
Show will start shortly.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll start promptly. I kind of got to pee, so I hope
me too.
They start somewhat promptly. But
I mean, we could just stop.
you want to just stop and go?
We could all go pee.
All right.
That
Can we
seems
pee
fine.
together?
Cut to that.
Well, no, we're not cutting to anything.
Oh, okay.
We're not. We can't host on YouTube. So
All right.
once we end the YouTube video, then that's the end of this Gamescast breakout for you.
Well,
You
cool.
don't even have to edit.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Kind of Funny Games
But
cast.
real quick,
for
while
a
you're
whole
here on
thing.
YouTube, because Twitch broke, subscribe to this channel. We're close to
Yeah,
100,000
definitely
on
subscribe to
this
this channel, please.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
and keep an eye out on our Twitter feeds because we'll figure out if we would like to go back to Twitch because
Yeah.
we can host natively the streams
Yes.
there, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, by the time Ubi's done in an hour and a half, this is all fixed.
Yes.
If not, I'm going to be
Who
really
knows?
pissed.
We might be in both places because we're crazy like that.
Damn, we fucking insane. We own the internet. Fredo knows. Fredo knows.
All right, you
All
want
right.
to wrap it up?
Yeah, well, you guys wrap it up. I'm going to go over there and click you off.
All right, cool.
Please say stuff about what we are and who we are.
We are Kind of Funny. Right now, we're Kind of Funny Games. We're at E3 2015. We're streaming all day long today. We're doing every pre and post show for each conference. It's going to be crazy. We got Ubisoft coming up next, and soon, we got Sony.